Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Josh Peck here with another Daily Renegade report. This one, unknown object crash near Area 51, fuels cover-up claims. It's a news story. A mysterious object of unknown origin fell from the sky and crashed just outside of Nevada's secretive Area 51, military base. And 5 weeks later, the public is still in the dark. So apparently this happened about 5 weeks ago, but we still don't know what's going on with it. The crash was quickly covered up, both literally and figuratively. 8 News Now Chief Investigator George Knapp thinks the official story as told by the military is demonstrably false. Before we continue, if you haven't had a chance, make sure you subscribe and click the bell to turn on all notifications. That way you'll always be aware of when we do a new update video or anything like this. And also, if you want early access to everything we do, plus full versions of everything that we do that we don't put on YouTube because of censorship issues, go to dailyrenegade.com and get a membership. If you just want the audio-only podcast version, the official podcast and blog of Daily Renegade, that is at joshpeck.substack.com. All the links are in the description below. All right, continuing on. Says, how quickly might the government respond to the crash of an unknown object? What happened back on September 23rd on public land outside the boundary of Area 51 is a textbook example of how crash retrievals work, and to no one's surprise, pretty much everything told to the public since then is pure fiction. Scanners and computers at Dreamland Resort listen to and record radio traffic inside Area 51 around the clock. On the morning of September 23rd, Jorg Arnu heard some astonishing news. Quote, I had my cup of coffee and I am listening to Area 51 security, and all of a sudden they got very serious and locked down the base. End quote. And that's what Arnu told 8 News Now. He learned there had been a large but totally secret air operation in the middle of the night, and that something had gone wrong. I'd be interesting to hear that. It seems like there would be a recording of that. And see, this is what always makes this stuff kind of tricky. Is there's like the official report, but then there's what people think happened, and a lot of times neither one of them are really good. And you know, the second somebody hears Area 51, they immediately are going to think UFOs, aliens, that kind of stuff. Maybe they are testing something secretive there. You know, maybe, I mean, we've talked about this on this channel a lot before. It's possible they might have back-engineered something, or it's possible that this was just totally a benign thing, and maybe they were trying to fly a drone and it just malfunctioned or something. So Arnu recalled, quote, we just had an asset go down. We had an asset go down. This is not Creech security. This is Area 51 security, and they had an asset go down. Then the next thing you hear, UAV, unmanned aircraft with ordnance, end quote. He picked up details that strict security measures were implemented almost immediately. Not only was Area 51 itself locked down, but within a very short time, so too was a large swath of the Tikaboo Valley. It became clear that some kind of craft had crashed miles outside Area 51's boundaries on public land adjacent to Highway 375, also known as ET Highway. Arnu jumped in his truck and headed south from his home in Rachel. But while driving on what's known as Mailbox Road, he ran into armed patrol. And with these kind of stories, too, you always have to keep in mind, we're taking this guy's word for it, because as far as I can tell, unless there's something more in the story, but I'm not seeing any recordings of what he heard. I'm not seeing any pictures of the personnel, any videos. And, you know, people say, well, you know, you can't take videos, they'll take it away or destroy it. It's I don't know. It's convenient that keeps happening. I don't know. I'm not saying that I don't believe this. I'm just saying, obviously, where everybody's mind is going to jump to is UFOs and aliens, and there was a UFO crash or something because it's Area 51. maybe they were testing something really secretive, or maybe it was secretive but not UFO related. And it's hard to tell when it's just one guy's word on it. But that's why I think it's important to delve even into these stories where, it's not like a ton of evidence, but it's like, yeah, there could be something there. But at the very least, we can all learn something through this, where with these kinds of stories, it's good to have a healthy amount of skepticism with it, and to say, you know what, I'm going to hold this in my back pocket until I see more compelling evidence. Not discounting it, not saying, oh, it's absolutely false, there's no way this is anything. I'm not as pessimistic as that with my skepticism, but I do have enough skepticism to say, like, okay, this most likely, from what I've read so far, if that's all we knew, this most likely is something pretty benign that probably some people are just trying to get some headlines going on. But let's continue on and see if there's anything here, because you notice on the these websites that talk about this stuff, like, look at all of these ads. There's one there, there's one there, there's one there, one there, there's one there, there's one there, one there, one up here, there's one up here, there's one up here. There's so many ads, and people go to these headlines and they get paid through ad revenue and stuff. When you go to dailyrenegade.com, however, it's ad free. You're not going to see anything like this there. Anyway, so it's not like, that doesn't totally discount it, but it's not like it's not relevant. So he says they had guns in front of them, not pointed at me, but very visibly in front of them, and it was clear they meant business. He backtracked and headed south on the ET Highway to Groom Lake Road, the main entrance to the base. It, too, was blocked off by sheriff's deputies and military security. A military helicopter with an attached basket was sitting there, presumably ready to haul out the wreckage of something. A pair of porta potties suggested the team planned to be there for a while. Almost the entire valley was shut down, Arnu explained. At the Little Ailey Inn in Rachel, employees were in the dark about a crash, but saw the beefed-up security at closed-off roads and knew something big was unfolding. Crashes are not an everyday occurrence, but locals have seen plenty of them over the decades. Something that I've wondered, too, and I'm curious to know your perspective on this. Do you think the government shutdown has affected any of this? I saw this meme that was kind of funny. It's like, and I don't know, I don't really pay attention to this stuff, but it's like, since the government shutdown, I have not seen any chemtrails in the sky. And I don't know anything about chemtrails. Honestly, for most of my life, I just kind of assumed that was some conspiracy theory. I haven't looked into it myself, so I'm kind of ignorant on the topic. And I also don't go looking for those, but at the same time, I haven't really seen them either. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Is there something to that? Am I right in just being skeptical about that too, or is there something there? It's not really it's a topic I'm open to. I don't know what the evidence is. It's just it hasn't been something that I've really delved into. So don't take my skepticism as me just trying to say there's nothing there. I'm just saying I don't know. But yeah, I've wondered, like, if the government shutdown would affect any of this kind of stuff, anything UFO related, or any back engineering kind of thing, or what. I have no idea. Interesting question though, and yeah, I'd be curious to know what you guys think. But so it said, Arnu said, if this thing would have crashed anywhere in restricted airspace, we wouldn't have known about it. End quote. Well, that's kind of interesting. You think if they were testing something that it would just be on restricted airspace, but the fact that it's on public land miles away from Area 51, that's kind of interesting. But again, pictures, audio, video, like where's the proof beyond just this guy saying it? And again, it's just a question. I'm not even necessarily doubting it. It's just healthy skepticism. But it says, after being turned away from the presumed crash site, Arnu and the aerospace sleuths on his website, dreamlandresort.com, began gathering and sharing bits and pieces of information. The FAA had ordered the closure of airspace over a particular spot in the valley. That was a big clue. Then, 4 days after the crash, The security teams vanished. Arnu went back for a look. The Air Force had used heavy equipment to plow a dirt road across a section of desert. Arnu followed it and found what he thought was the crash site, then shared it online. That's when things got strange, even by Area 51 standards. A second wave of cleanup crews descended on the site, presumably to pick up any remaining debris, but they also used graders to cover the entire area with a thick layer of dirt, making this literally a cover-up. Creech Air Force Base, which is home to a fleet of Reaper drones and other UAVs, issued a statement explaining that the, quote, unmanned aircraft was one of theirs. In the sentence, you don't really have to say quote if you're quoting it. That's kind of funny. But anyway, the same statement claimed someone had been tampering with the crash site and had scattered assorted pieces from other craft along with an inert training bomb. The Air Force said the FBI was investigating this alleged tampering at the site. Arnu was amused but not convinced. He said the only thing that could get that person is for littering on public land. That's the story. It came from Creech, and now the FBI is investigating. Knapp said during an interview with Arnu, "You think that's bogus?" "That's absolutely bogus," Arnu responded. "I think that was designed to make people not go there, discourage people from going there." Arnu drove back and realized the site he had first videotaped was a staging area, not the crash site. How did he realize that? 200 yards away, the telltale burn marks on Joshua trees indicated this was where the object slammed into the earth. Okay. Both he, and I don't know enough about the area or what happens there. Is there anything else that could cause that, or is it only crashes that cause that? Maybe anybody who's watching, if you're from that area, you can tell us in the comments. Both he and another aerospace explorer found pieces of who knows what debris that came from something other than a drone, seemingly planted to confuse anyone who came looking, but they also found pieces under the dirt that are likely the real thing. Arnu, who was at the site of a genuine Reaper crash years earlier, said there's no way the Air Force could ever recover every piece from a crashed aircraft, so they added some dirt and sprinkled in some misdirection instead. Up here it said that there was a website. Arnu and the aerospace sleuths on his website, Dreamland Resort, began gathering and sharing bits of information. Well, let's take a look and see what's there. Let's see what their evidence is, if it's gonna load. This site was last updated 11:01. Okay. Oh man, this is one of those really messy. This is one of those really messy websites that's like. I don't know if we're gonna get anything from this. New area 1, Area 51 photos. Would that be it? I don't know. It's funny. A lot of UFO websites are like this. They're just real messy and they're hard to navigate. Let's click on it and see if. Oh my gosh. August 21st, so that wouldn't be it. April 21st. Okay, so that's not recent enough because this apparently happened at the end of September. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on this Area 51. Let's click on that. Oh, it's apparently... Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. News and events. See, this only goes back to April, so what on this website are they sharing in relation to this supposed crash? What's in radio scanner? Scanner frequencies? That's just the frequencies? Code words. All right, I'm not seeing anything here. See, this is making me think there really isn't anything, because if there was, it should be easy to find. I'm not seeing anything unless they're just not very good at building websites. But I don't know. Okay, I don't want to waste a lot of time on that. But Okay, so yeah, they added some dirt, sprinkled in some misdirection. If I was them, I would probably do just that. Is there a good guess about what crashed? On the Dreamland Resort website, members, including former military and retired defense contractors, chimed in. I don't see where. The leading theory is that the drone was one of the latest generation of AI-controlled craft that accompany advanced fighter planes and can act independently to get the job done. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I don't know if there's all this information on this website. I'm not really seeing where. I mean, look at all of these just links all over, like these messy links all over the place. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's making me think that it's a big nothing burger, but I could be wrong. I don't know. What do you guys think? Typically when I see a website like that, it looks a little suspect to me. But again, maybe I'm just not patient enough to navigate it properly. But anyway, I'd like to know what you think. Have any of you heard about this story? Today was the first that I heard about it, and apparently this happened a few days ago. But I wanted to cover it anyway, just in case it turns out that there's something. But as it stands right now, I'm not really super convinced. AI drone sounds probably right if it's anything at all. But maybe I'm missing something, or maybe I'm being too skeptical. I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know. Leave me a comment in the comment section. And yeah, again, make sure you're subscribed and make sure you click the bell to turn on all notifications, because YouTube will uncheck that bell for you. They do it all the time. They did it to me just recently. And then check out all the links in the description below. All right, all that being said, love you all. Have a great day. Take care. God bless.